So is there anyone in this room who haven't heard of the European Declaration on Global Education to 2050? Or the Dublin Declaration? No, that's wonderful. So I don't need to go much through it. But I would like to say that this is a framework within which I work in my organization, and it is GENE, the Global Education Network Europe. And I would like to start with it because reflecting on the context in which this declaration was created only a couple of years ago, and the atmosphere in which it was created is quite different today. Soon, next year, it will be 5 years after this declaration, and it feels somehow that we are in a very different world. So when we remind ourselves in this declaration, what is this core about? And it's about the core of values, and they were mentioned already. It's about the interconnections, and it's about the pedagogical practice that we also want to talk about today, I believe so. Still, it feels kind of, yes, this is what we want, and this is what we are working towards. And at the same time, where are we now, right? The Agenda 2030 was mentioned. There is COP going on right now. And when we reflect critically about the world that we are at and what is our place in this world, and I'm not saying anything new, we are wondering whether the approaches that we have chosen to use are still considered by the, let's say, main decision makers as relevant. Whether we are still part of the rooms on the big debates when we are discussing the issues that really matter in this world, and when we are talking about education and how people learn towards a world that we wish, that we want. So do we in this room feel empowered to imagine and hope and act towards a world that we live in today? You know, when I talk to people across different backgrounds in Europe, there is lots of fear. There is lots of uncertainties. There is lots of ambiguity. And there are no answers, right? There is only, you know, the recent elections in the Czech Republic brought many questions. I just read this morning about my own country, which is Slovakia, that the Prime Minister is thinking of postponing the local elections for no reason. So there are many questions at the national level that we wonder in which directions we are going. And democracy, which we are all working towards to, and that we are trying to strengthen our education to have citizens who are conscious and who understand the world around us. At the same time, we see that it's not to be taken for granted, even among our political elites. There is a big question mark about the context that we are living and how to really look at this. At the same time, I would say that there are some seeds of hope, right? So we are here in this room, and there are people from different countries who are working together, and there is a certain type of unity among what we aspire to. And I believe that this is something that can bring us together to address the challenges and to make our voices heard, even in a world that is full of questions and that is full maybe of disinformation about what people who care about education want. We have also, and this is also no news for any of you, a changing role of teachers, of educators, and they're coming to a situation where what they knew that and was asked for them before, now there are different demands. And these demands are maybe increasing considering the changing generations of educators. And we have in Europe many curriculum that are incorporating, let's say, global education, global citizenship education competencies for this world more and more. Yet the way the teachers are prepared for these new roles in the curriculum is not always accompanied by strong support, both at the level of school and at the level of, let's say, the management of schools and the support provided by the different ministries. And it's a new process because we are really trying to implement something that places, let's say, participation at the heart, and which is not in many contexts something that has been there for so long. And that on itself creates many challenges in terms of quality and in terms of guaranteeing that we don't have a system where some schools are great and some schools are not doing so well. I think I could have some examples of practice as this was asked for. And there is something that we highlight always in GENE, and that is peer learning. And there are some experiences that bring in the best of peer learning and creation of spaces among teachers, facilitated by experts in non-formal education from NGOs, and having an enlarged dialogue where we're sharing of how this can be done, can be strengthened. There is also a great focus on those in global education who are maybe not so much at the mainstream or are not benefiting so much of mainstream policies, and how to have inclusive global education approaches that would leave no one behind. It's also one of the principles in the Dublin Declaration and has been taken on by some national strategies of global education that now want to give a greater focus on looking at what is out there to leave no one behind. We started with a deep dive in GENE of a case study in Belgium that will be soon available for all. And we are soon going to continue with the European dimension of this research, of looking at practices that are inclusive in global education, that look at audiences and groups of people that are usually not included in the policies and how to bring them along. So this is also something that I would like to highlight. And recently, I participated in an exchange between the Czech Republic, Czech Ministry of Education, and Skolverket in Sweden on learning, on policy learning on global education. And one thing that really was interesting, it's about the peer-based professional learning among teachers, among school directors, and how they bring together those who are, let's say, the most successful in terms of real learning achievements and also in kind of hard indicators according to PISA, and how they share those approaches that work best with those schools and environments that are working with most difficulties. That means in regions where there is children and families from the lower socio-economical background that face many challenges that are from migration background and so on. and how they share these approaches with those schools who are kind of leaning back, and how they train the school directors and the whole school environment to implement some changes and transform the schools so that they can achieve better results that are tested with really hard indicators. And they have very interesting results, and it involves, in my understanding, global education principles of having a positive environment, of dialogue, of getting and giving feedback between the leadership and the school environment, with helping teachers to address some of the challenges in engaging the students from different backgrounds, and also how to give better support to those children who don't have an easy environment at home for learning. So I just wanted to highlight that there are many ways we can strengthen the environment that is for global citizenship education in the formal education system, recognizing that we all come from very different contexts and we have very different systems. But still, I would say that there are many ways that peer learning and policy learning can help us to highlight this. I think I will pass this. I don't know whether I still have time to highlight another question or two, but just touching upon some of you will recognize your countries in here. Hopefully everybody, although I'm not sure Bulgaria is really in here. But there are many advancements in the strategies in many countries. And at policy level, there is a great effort in most ministries and also at the level on local and regional governments to implement frameworks to enable global education to be there, maybe not as a #1 priority, because that's often changing and being politically defined, although even in the changing environment, I would say that aspects of global education are being maintained also as a political priority, although it may not be named so. One of the example is the media literacy or importance of critical thought or digital literacy, which can seem very partial to the overall global education, global citizenship education area, but these can be entry points for bringing in contents that are very relevant. So there is despite the changing political context, there is still progress in Portugal, and we hope that the new strategy will be finally improved. There is progress in Italy, where for the first time there may be a framework even for assessment and monitoring of global education at the national level. There is a new strategy being developed in Ireland and a midterm review that has just gone through. That is supported also by international peer review of global education. We have new experiment framework in Latvia, where they focus on a competence-based curricula that puts really global education competencies at the heart of the system. There is secondary school curriculum undergoing reform both in Czech Republic and Slovakia, and they are integrating global education also at the very core of the curriculum. We may think that it's not enough, but at the same time it gives us policy tools to, when we join forces, and I see there are many different actors here, to maybe make the best use of it. I already mentioned Czech Republic. I don't know, there are other countries, as I mentioned, Belgium already, with a great focus on leaving no one behind. And maybe I will end with Germany, that is also just going to launch their revised curriculum on global citizenship education, and as they call it in ESD, Education for Sustainable Development, just now. So there are many, let's say, also hopeful examples, although there are, as I said, many challenges. And I think all the different crises that were mentioned by Gianfranco at the beginning make us really worried. And I think money is also a great issue. And how do we saw that we can see that in many countries of Europe, civil society is under stress. And there is a great insecurity about how to continue the great work that has been developed by civil society, and in many countries, even, how shall I say, supplementing in the global citizenship education field the work of the governments, or supporting more than, how shall I say, it was traditionally the role. We need to find ways that the disinformation and what is found on media and in many political discourses and narratives is not something that prevents all the great work that is being done, that prevents us of reaching and working towards the vision of a beautiful, sustainable green planet, where all the peoples and all the beings in this planet have a chance to have a life in dignity. We need to look at ways, and I think there are not like easy answers. I think the answer is in dialogue among partners about how to bridge all that there is in order to address what is really at the heart of, I think, most people when it comes to it. When they realize that they are struggling for their life in dignity, I think all of the people in the world want to have a decent life. And regardless what are their political opinions and what are their divisive stories. So the question is, how can we facilitate a process of making that consciousness to arrive that, yes, we are kind of on the same boat, and that we need to join hands to work on this together. So this is my last message that I think I would like to leave you with. So how can we do this together? Thank you.